Cecil, the legendary lion and the true face of power and authority. One of the most powerful and beautiful lions in Africa. His death was considered one of the saddest moments in Hwange National Park, specifically in the Matabeleland North region of Zimbabwe, a true story, and an amazing tale from the rich lands of Africa, teeming with the fiercest and most fiercely competitive beasts. So today, we put our hand on our heart as we recount the legacy and timeless legend of a lion who left his exciting mark on the pages of Zimbabwe's rich history. This legacy that ended prematurely. The story begins when Cecil, born in 2002, was tracked by a collar designed to transmit his movements and health status. From his upbringing to his youth in the reserve, he had a very prominent role in the place, with his great ferocity and the beauty of his huge black coat and golden eyes, to the extent that many travelers who love wildlife and lions came from faraway places to see Cecil. The incomparable lion, indeed, seeing him was worth traveling for hours to enjoy this living legend. Everything started when Cecil formed a new alliance with his son Zanda, enabling them to control vast areas of the park, to become the pride that they lead, consisting of 16 members of lionesses and cubs, and controlling the pride perched on the plains of the eastern region of the national park, which was called Linkwasha. The two became an unmatched force in the place, and despite the emergence of the alliance of the strong brothers Bush and Bubisi from the northern region. However, they were unable to wrest the place from Cecil and his son, who fought them with all ferocity and violence. You can imagine the size of the huge battle that began with roaring, then chasing, pouncing, and biting. Blood flows everywhere and loud sounds thunder in the place. The battle lasted for hours before the brothers were forced to retreat and leave for fear of being killed in a confrontation with the terrifying Cecil. Then Cecil and Zanda managed to stand their ground and chase the other two lions. Then they secured the area again. As time passed and the calm camped, it paved the way for Zanda to try to rebel and lead the pride instead of Cecil, the latter who made his big mistake, when he expelled his son, who began to become stronger and fiercer than the pride. His expulsion of Zanda ended in peace within the place, where Bush and Bobisi took advantage of the opportunity to try again to expel Cecil from the Linkwasha group forever. And indeed, this is what happened, especially since Cecil was the only male in the group, so he could not stand against the brothers who did not delay a moment from attacking him and being satisfied with expelling him outside the group. On Cecil's long journey north through one of the areas controlled by the lion Kokore, at that time Cecil was thin, hungry, and his health was deteriorating, and he did not have much strength and ability to endure and confront. Therefore Cecil tried to ingratiate and submit to Kokore to gain a chance to form a new alliance with him. But Kokore rejected him and kept him away from his area in defense of his lands, and fearing that Cecil would kill his cubs in pride. Cecil returned to wander to find Jericho on his way, that single and huge male lion. Legend has it that Jericho's father killed Cecil's father in a violent fight that broke out between them, so there is a clear history of hatred between them. So naturally they cannot be friends, but due to the bad condition that Cecil reached and his desperate need to gain a new friend to rely on in hunting and control and save his life, everyone was surprised when he forgot past grudges and left those disputes and chose to unite strength with Jericho. They moved together to the Samalisa group area, where control and rule of the group were strictly enforced, for Cecil to regain some of his previous prestige and strength. But despite being a terrible force together, disturbances and internal problems began to appear, especially between them and the older cubs who began competing for rule and food, where they fought many battles at the time they ruled. The lack of food increased the severity of the males' temperaments during their struggle for the prey that was hunted and led to increased tension with the females. But regardless of that, calm returned after a period to gather the group and unite it after they discovered that their strength in their multitude and gathering is better than being separate and weak. The roar of those powerful lions announced the dominant power in the area, with their loud voices as Cecil challenged any alliance that dared to approach their controlled areas. That roar was also an expression for the females in the area of their desire to grow their pride and increase their offspring. So Cecil and Jericho took responsibility for the group, and the echo of their voices reverberated through the place to instill fear and terror in the spirit and entity of every predator or prey, and everyone will immediately understand the necessity of staying away and escaping from the claws of those ferocious, hungry lions. Kokore was not affected when he heard the roar of these two fierce lions, but he came to confront those challenging voices near his area. But when he saw their huge size together, he retreated and left his pride, surrendering immediately. Cecil and Jericho continued to declare control and challenge while they were looking for lionesses to continue writing their glory and establishing their own legacy in the area without boredom. In 2014, during the expansion, the two lions met three lionesses called Spice Girls, who saw in Cecil and Jericho the best lions that can mate with and produce strong offspring. By September of the same year, those lionesses had carried Cecil and Jericho's cubs to give birth in December 2015, 7 cubs, 2 males and 5 females. That was a happy family for that group of lions. For a while, they lived an ideal life in the Somalisa group. Pride grew in it to 12 individuals, but with the increase of pride, responsibility increases, meaning that they have to struggle for the place and food. So they needed to expand the area again, where Jericho ventured north to an area called Kennedy, near the railway line. And behind the line is the forest, also known as the hunting area, which contains some lions and lionesses. Jericho found on his way a lioness named Kathy, who was old and alone. Jericho informed Cecil that he had found a larger area. Cecil immediately moved north to Kennedy, where Cecil saw Kathy and was happy with her presence, especially not for mating, but for raising young cubs. They stayed with Kathy for a long time before they decided to return to their previous group for a short period and then return overnight to Kathy. All this happened before disaster struck the lion Cecil, where the plot was being hatched to monopolize him and hunt him. Indeed, on the night of July 1, 2015, Cecil was lured outside the protected area, where 2 hunters from the area participated with an American trophy hunter named Walter Palmer in tracking and killing the lion Cecil through a sharp arrow that led to his death after leaving him for long hours of suffering. Cecil was 13 years old before his death, while Palmer had bought a hunting permit so as not to be legally accused of any crime. The authorities in Zimbabwe said that after killing Cecil, he remained free to visit the country as a tourist, while the other hunters, sons of Zimbabwe, the hunting guide and the owner of the farm where the hunting operation took place, were arrested. They were imprisoned for a short period, before the charge was eventually dropped against them. This killing attracted the attention of the international media and caused great anger among advocates and animal conservation associations who used to come from abroad to see this powerful lion, and Palmer received many criticisms and negative reactions from politicians and celebrities. In the end, Cecil left behind a great legacy, and many genes are still alive that will take over the pride and rule the area for sure at the earliest opportunity, while Jericho remained in the north and did not return to defend the pride, where he stayed with Kathy before 2 other lionesses joined him, and he mated with them and became the father of 5 new cubs. In 2021, National Geographic Channels broadcast the documentary film produced by wildlife filmmaker Peter Lamberti from Lion Mountain Media about the lion Cecil and his life history full of dominance and power.